Well, good morning, everybody. It is June 6th. Remembrance of G-Day, please. Okay, just so you know, very important day in American history. All right, and welcome to today's show at Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. I'm Larry Jacobs, your host, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us today, or perhaps you're listening on the archives just fine with us. Everything we archive, everything we do is over at our home website for our Consortium for Equity in Education over at ace-ed.org, ace-ed.org. Check out everything. Everything's free over there. Our new issue of our magazine is up, which is called Equity and Access. You'll really enjoy it. If you go over there, just click on the cover, enjoy. If you want to subscribe, you can. It's very simple to do. Again, it's free. All the podcasts are there. Everything about our Excellence in Equity Awards program is also over there. Nominations are open until early August, but there's no time like the present to check it all out. There's always a ton of good information over there. We do a lot of work with a lot of people and a lot of organizations, all about trying to create equitable education for everybody across the nation. And please check it all out over at ace-ed.org. Today's show is with our good friends over at COSN, the Consortium of School Networking. And I've got a pretty good array here of folks. Let me introduce them to you. We're going to talk about their 2023 State of Ed Tech Leadership in schools, obviously. State of Ed Tech Leadership, the new survey that just came out. We have returning guests. Hello, Holly. How are you? Holly Doe from the great state of Maine, just where I happen to be right now, over in Union, Maine. How you doing, Holly?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
Just fine, thank you. Okay, it's a pleasure to have you here. Okay, so you know this, but I'll tell everybody else. You're the Director of Technology, Regional School Unit, RSU 40 up in Union, Maine, which is mid-coast, right near Rockland and Camden and all those places that people love to visit. Okay, Diane, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Diane, it's Larry here, and Diane is the Senior Director of Information Technology over at Digital Promise. Tell us what you do for a living, Diane.
Sure, I'm broadcasting from central Wisconsin right now.
Beautiful central Wisconsin. Which town?
Oh, Iola, Scandinavia, home of the Midwest's largest car show. So there we go.
Wow. I did not know that. Okay. That's
well,
pretty cool.
You have to take a trip over here.
Are you in
yeah. I am about a half hour away from Stevens Point. More
been
towards
there.
Green
Had
Bay.
Some Point Special. Yeah, been there.
Oh, yeah, Point Special beer. There you go.
Good stuff. Okay, Senior Director of Information Technology at Digital Promise. You were the Chief Technology Information Officer at the district right where you are in Iola? Is that correct?
No, actually in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I was retired for a full weekend, and then I moved to central Wisconsin to care for parents.
Wow, good for you. Do they have a football team in Green Bay?
Oh, well, there's no Aaron Rodgers anymore, but we are rebuilding.
The Packers. They're still the Green Bay Packers. You guys will be okay.
Yes. Yeah. We are Green Bay Packers without Aaron.
And actually, Holly and I are a little upset about that because he moved to our division. He's the Jets quarterback now, same division as the Patriots. Okay, so
get used to the drama.
He's a good man. He's a good guy. Okay, and a great quarterback in my opinion. Okay,
yes,
Aaron, you there?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. That's a Southern thing. You got to call me Larry, not sir. Let's do it again.
All right,
good morning,
Larry.
Aaron. How are you?
I'm great, Larry. How are you doing?
That's much better. Please call me sir from now on. No, I'm just kidding. I want Larry, not sir. Okay? And you're down in Oklahoma today, and always tell us about your job as Executive Director of Technology down at Middale School District. I think is this the first time you've been on with us?
Yes, sir. Yes. Sorry, my dad's a Marine, so sir's going to come out quite a bit. Yeah, this is my first time. I work in Middale Public Schools, and we're a combination of two cities, Midwest City and Del City, Oklahoma, and we support Tinker Air Force Base out here, and so it's just a unique little community right outside of Oklahoma City. So we have city life, but then suburbia to live in and enjoy, lesser living, so to say, not as fast.
Exactly. Well, I live in Holly and I both live in, I'll call it kind of rural Maine, okay, away from the big cities, okay, and we're quite used to it. And we've also got Iola, Wisconsin, which last I heard has not been compared to Gotham City of late. Would that be correct, Diane? Right.
We are a small, quaint little town.
Yeah. Yeah, we all are. We're all a little suburban and rural today, away from the bright lights, big city. It's all that, and it's great because you're all great educators, and you'll care about all this, and it's super. And I'm going to start here with Diane. Diane, the results of the 2023 State of the Ed Tech Leadership across the country. Okay, why does COSN, my good friends Keith Kruger, the Consortium on School Networking, why do you guys do this survey? What's the point of it?
Sure. Well, and I also want to bring up that I serve as the chair for COSN, so I can be small town as well as national. It's kind of cool. We've been doing this survey for over 10 years. And, something that we ed tech leaders always get from our boards of education are, what are other school districts doing? And so being able to talk about, this is what our survey says, and we have gotten information from over 1,200 ed tech leaders. And so, yes, this is valid information, and I think that it can help us. It can help us build education for the future with our leaders and stay informed of what's going on and be ahead of everything.
Diane, you brought up an interesting point just then, okay? Our school boards and school districts, okay, and everybody knows, education, technology is education. Technology is education. They don't use a lot of chalk anymore, okay? It's ed tech, okay? And we know that. But they say, what are other school districts doing? And that's a great question to ask, but is there still a little bit, just from your point of view, a little bit of insecurity, just not understanding exactly what about ed tech in a given school district? I'll just go with Diane on that one again. Is there still a little bit of questioning? You know what I mean?
There is, because it combines so many things. You need to know technology and how it works, and you also need to know what goes on in the classroom. And I think because of that, we serve as, as ed tech leaders, we serve as the interpreters. So when you talk to the Board of Education, you take highly technical things and you make it, people talk. But then when you talk to your technical team, you need to get technical and let them know what the end users are needing. So people don't quite understand it and really don't even know it's a job. And so if you talk to all of us, we've got former educators who have turned into CTOs and directors of technology, and we also have former technical people who have served as contractors perhaps or come from the technical business field and then moved into education. And, that's what our surveys are saying at this point. So, people just don't really understand. So we're grateful for you having us so that we can help demystify some of this information.
Well, believe me, thank you for being here. That is my pleasure and my honor to have you three and COSN here all the time, as we always do. I got to tell you, the work COSN does and you three, okay, it's just very, very, very important. Okay, that's all there is to it. All right. So, what were the key findings this year? As we get people more secure with this, okay, what were the key findings from the Ed Tech Leadership Survey? Diane.
Right. Well, cybersecurity continues to be a big topic. We're hearing of more and more school districts getting hit with ransomware and other things, and, large school districts. And so our leaders are really saying, wow, number one, we need more funding for cybersecurity, and COSN does have a policy. By the way, that's not to pay
for the ransom. We don't need more funding to pay for the ransom.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Right. So, COSN has a policy committee that works on, making sure that we've got bills and policy brought forward to receive funding for things like advanced firewalls and other things. So, that in 2013, cybersecurity really was not listed as one of the top concerns, but now for the last, I do believe, 5 years or so, it has been listed as the number one concern. Only 1/3 of school districts have full-time dedicated network security staff. 2/3 of EdTech leaders feel that their district has insufficient resources, and that includes 12% of our districts who do not allocate any funds for cybersecurity defense. And so, we just have a lot of work to do there. And EdTech leaders tend to underestimate the threats to our network. 50% or more of our people rated 5 threat types as relatively low, while the adoption of practices to improve cybersecurity is on the rise, so are the number of bad actors. I think our bad actors are finding that K-12 schools are easy targets. We need to change that.
Wow. That's scary because and there's a lot of money involved in schools, okay? And the communities put their trust in schools, all right? And it's the biggest employer usually in every community, all right, unless there's a big hospital or something nearby, okay, or a huge university, okay? It's usually the biggest employer, and people have to, the community has to understand, the school board has to understand, the administration has to understand that it has to be protected. Okay, and it has to be
not
protected.
Not to mention our students' data.
Yeah, I was just saying, you just took the next sentence right out of my mouth. I was just going to say, not to mention student privacy. Okay,
right.
It's unbelievable, and people are still trying to understand this. They still, like you said, they still don't get it. Okay, Aaron, I'm going to thank you, Diane. I mean, it's real scary. We're going to go over some of the other findings too. Okay, but I want to ask Aaron about this. Aaron, you're Executive Director of Technology at a really nice school district, Mid-Dell down in Oklahoma, right by Oklahoma City. And by the way, if you want to answer this question, I'm going to have to charge you over $1 million. It's ransomware, Aaron, ransomware. Okay, just send a check. Venmo me the check. Okay?
Yeah, we don't need Venmo for that reason.
Go ahead. Talk to me about what's going on down in your district.
Sure. So, so I've only been in this role for about 8 months now, and to speak to the truths of the survey being out there, thank you. For 10 years, I'm able to lean on that and use that as, a guiding light for me. But unfortunately here in Oklahoma, we had a local school district actually have a cyber attack about 6 weeks after I got into my post. And so there's no easier way to convince people to put funding into security when it's in your backyard. And so I'm lucky I've got a CFO who's very active in working with our insurances and making sure we're, checking our boxes there as far as cybersecurity goes. And then we have a great company here in Oklahoma called Adira, and we work with them, and they're actually our information security officer. So, when it comes down to that funding, they're making it affordable for us. I've got a lot of smart people who I work with who can do it, but in order to keep, that educational technology component going, I can't take them out of those positions. And so having that luxury to lean on a company that's, does that for us behind the scenes, and they alert us, it's really helpful. So, it's a fear for us, but like I said, I can mention this, I won't do it here, but around here, we know who it was, and I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and, we talk about that student data privacy. It's super important that I protect them, and they're in my school district. So it's a little easier too. A lot of our employees, they're like, oh, it's not just about the adult, the teacher and what we're doing. We're protecting our kids and our students for their future.
You just brought up something interesting to me, and I'm going to get back to more of these findings, Diane. I'm going to ask Holly too, but Aaron, I want to ask you this. You're both a parent and the tech director. Okay, so you're in an interesting point of view. Everybody talks about cybersecurity, and they don't want their students' privacy data out there in the world. Okay, you're a parent in this situation as well as the tech director. Okay, what data, and I don't mean this to sound as stupid as it's going to sound, what data are we so worried about? Okay, and I think people need to understand that, or let me put it another way, I need to understand it. I understand the need for privacy, but what are we so concerned about? What's that data that's so scary? that it gets out there. Let's put that in perspective.
If you just think about, any parent who enrolls, we're in enrollment season right now, whether it's a brand new kindergartner or a pre-K or, even kiddos going into college. And you're constantly putting information into either on a piece of paper or into a form online. And information is so readily, like you're able to just kind of put it anywhere. We've had, phone, a computer in our pocket now for 10 to 15 years. And so the idea of just putting information out there, it's like, okay, this is easy. They have what I need. But if I think about my 8-year-old, I promise you the hackers don't want my credit score. They don't care where I live. They don't need my birth date. But my 8-year-old who they can maybe take that information and do something with their birth date. We don't put our Social Security and things in our district, but addresses, just those little pieces. And then even the access on the backside. So we're a Google district. Having a student click sign Google, if they're under 13, there's certain things that they just access based on certain laws. And those are some of even the decisions we have to make as far as that data goes, because that ties back into our student information system, and that's where all the gold is. So it's not even always about money. Now, don't get me wrong. We have to put securities in place for our high targets in the district to protect the public funds. But when it comes to those kiddos, the reality is that the student ID won't be discovered until they apply for financial aid. So, something could happen as a 5-year-old, and it's 13 years before we realize that there's been an issue.
Wow, and it's just so amazing. And again, all that information is out there. We put it out there all the time. We just have to be so darn careful. And let me swing over to Holly. Let's go way north now, up even north of me here in little Cornish, Maine, to Union, Maine, up near Rockland. Okay, Holly. Well, when you hear cybersecurity as the top thing, is that your top thing too?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so, as I read through this ed tech, the results of this, it's like everything. You're kind of nodding your head as you look at everything, because it's exactly what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And while I won't say what we have done or what we will do, because it's always a work in progress, it's reaffirming to see that other districts are struggling with the same things. It makes you, getting things in the budget is so important. We added, as a result of an audit we did internally here, we've added a bunch of new items to our budget for next year so that we can continually improve. And we're sitting down doing incident response planning this summer. So it's reaffirming, but it is startling, like Diane said, to see how people perceive threats. The fact that some of the largest threats to our district are not perceived as that, and that kind of made me question, why is that? Why are people?
What do you say? Explain what you just said. That they're not perceived as that. The great threats are not perceived as threats.
DDoS is a pretty big threat to a district, but it's perceived as low in the survey by most of the respondents. And I think I'm wondering what's happening is, you see your neighboring districts get affected occasionally, and I think a lot of districts are still sitting there going, well, it hasn't happened to me yet. And so I don't know if that's why, if that factors in, but I think that may have something to do with it.
It better not, because that's why everybody has insurance. It hasn't happened to me yet, but it could. Okay, and you got to be really careful with that. This is so interesting. Again, I want to make my point that education is technology these days, and the teachers use that to have kids learn. Okay, it's not chalk on a blackboard anymore. All right, it's technology, and the entire community has to understand that, and the dollars we put into that pay off in the end. Okay, it's just that simple. It's really it's scary when we think of all the information that's out there. Back to Diane. Diane, another finding that was one of the key findings of the leadership survey. We just did cybersecurity. What else?
Right, digital equity. The pandemic really did bring attention to, who has technology and access and who doesn't. In fact, back, in 2021, 95% of our districts were providing off-campus broadband. Well, now only 74% of our districts are providing that because kids are back to school. But yet
So we didn't learn the lesson we needed to learn. Here we go again. Right? When we need it next time, what happens? Yeah. To a point.
Right.
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, yes. And some of that, I'm sure, has to do with funding, right? Because that relief funding is no longer with us. And so, we do have things like the Emergency Connectivity Fund, and, students who are on the free and reduced lunch program can qualify to get, additional funding for the internet at their house, a monthly type of supplement. But that's really all we've got. Our school districts, seem to be pulling away from providing that access at home, but I can't say that the homework and the work that is expected of students at home has changed since the pandemic. I do believe that students still are expected to complete their work while at home, and the relief that our school districts is providing has, been cut down to only 74% of our school districts.
Digital Promise is so into equity, your group. Okay, you're the Senior Director of Information Technology. We here at the American Consortium for Equity Education. It is so darn important that every kid get the education they deserve, and I mean every kid. All right, it's hard to do, but we supposedly learned during the pandemic that we weren't prepared for this. And like we all said, during those heavy days of the pandemic, we built a plane while it was flying in the sky. But we built the plane. It wasn't the best plane, but it stayed in the air. All right? I'll just ask Diane on this, and I'm going to go to the other ladies. Are we doing it again? What's going on? Diane, are we falling back into the old trap? Yeah.
Unfortunately, due to budgets, I'm hearing about laptops going back into carts and, not being able to be sent home with kids anymore. We've got a real funding cliff here. And I know I talked about this 3 years ago about, how are we building a sustainability plan so that when this funding goes away, can take over the maintenance or the replacement of these devices. And we're at that point now. And I think that's why we're seeing a reduction in off-campus broadband, because schools simply cannot afford it at this time, which is unfortunate. Because, every student deserves to have, the resources they need to learn.
Well, let's look to our two districts. Okay, we'll go to Holly first this time. Holly, up in Mid-Coast, Maine, how are we doing on all this? You're in a pretty rural area.
We are. COSN has, in I think the middle of June, they are going to be publishing the Digital Equity Dashboard. I serve on the Digital Equity Committee for COSN. And it's going to have a lot of data by state and by county and by town, kind of telling you more about the picture of what our students actually have for access to broadband. And so I'm excited about that dashboard because that's a tool we'll be using to talk about our students' access. I know our district used hotspots during COVID, and that really isn't something that we didn't find that overly useful for some students because in some areas the cell service is limited. So it really depended on where the student was and what town they were in. So we are looking at, how can we promote those other programs with our local cable providers to make sure that, these families that qualify for those free and reduced lunch can take advantage of these programs so that we can increase that access at home, because that is so important. They have the access they need when they come to school, but it's that gap as soon as they go home.
Exactly. And if we don't do that, we leave them in the same position. We can't do that. We have to give everybody the same opportunity. That falls on us. Okay, it's that simple. All right, It's just infrastructure, and we all know that fights over infrastructure while the roads fall apart, etc. Aaron, I want to get back to you, but I think I made a boo-boo when I introduced you as Aaron Rennick. You're Aaron Rennick White. You have a third name there. Yes, I apologize for that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. My wife appreciates that. So, I think I had two thoughts come to mind as you guys were all talking about this, and I think the first thing for Mid-Del, tech at home consistently is so new that we're still working through like what that digital equity looks like at home. We're working on a shift of, hey, here's your computer. Yes, this is where your textbook is. You know, Larry, you said it. Education is becoming so technology-based.
It is.
And
it is.
That's the puzzle we're working through to where we, when the pandemic hit, we put surveys out, who has connectivity, how can we support you? And we did what we could in 2020, right? And then funding came in, and then we went one-to-one. So we, instead of a natural rollout, a pilot, we supplied over 12,000 students with a device, either an iPad or a Chromebook. And then that comes to Diane's point about sustainability. What do we do in 3 to 5 years? And so that's the struggle that I've stepped into, and I've got the support that, that Polly and Diane both mentioned through COSN to support that.
Yeah.
So that's the piece. And then the other piece that comes to mind for me is this digital equity comes to the teachers as well. I know there's always a conversation of work at home or not work at home, but that same connectivity at the house has to occur for teachers as well. So where does that fit into the puzzle? And that was just a separate thought that I had as you guys were, communicating about it all. But so we're working through this in Mid-Del. We've got the kiddos have the devices at home to do the work. It's just a matter of making a consistent piece of the puzzle for all around.
Yeah, and the word you just used is consistent, and it has to be consistent because it's a brave new world out there, okay? And it's not so new anymore, okay? It's not so new anymore. And we can't keep fighting the same battle over and over again. And we saw how we got caught short when the pandemic hit. And we know about the learning loss and the NAEP scores, okay? And it's all part of the same thing, okay? It's all part of the same cycle. All right, if we don't correct it, and hopefully the pandemic was the silver. There was a silver lining behind that cloud, okay, and that we were able to make things happen. We got to make sure we sustain them and keep that consistent. Okay, it's pretty obvious. Okay, it's pretty obvious. All right, great stuff. And by the way, one other question, Aaron. Okay, it's Mid-Del School District. What is Mid-Del? Mid and Del. What do they stand for? Mid and Del.
We're officially Midwest City - Del City Public Schools.
Midwest City. Midwest City, Del City. Got it.
Yes. So
I just didn't know. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Mid-Del. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, Diane. Okay, let's go back to you with another finding here. We have two of them about the equity, and we have about cybersecurity. The third one, go ahead.
Sure. Budget constraints, especially for a modernized infrastructure. I don't know if you've been catching on social media. I've been sharing some of these tidbits over LinkedIn and other places. And one thing I shared is that, voice over IP in 2013, many school districts didn't have it. And now we're happy to say that, most school districts have gone digital and have implemented voice over internet protocol, which allows for just so many other things, better updating of your directory, messaging for teachers and parents. That communication is so important. And so, we are making strides, but our ed tech leaders are saying that is still their top challenge is budget constraints. Things to put into the infrastructure, like single sign-on is another thing where, again, it provides more security when students log in. And I don't know if you have ever sat next to a first or second grader as they're trying to type in the long password. It takes a lot of time. And so a lot of school districts have moved now to single sign-on, SSO, which allows students to get into their learning applications much faster. So there's more time for learning. So we are making some strides forward, but still it's the budget that continues to be a number one concern. And I think, you heard that as we talked about cybersecurity as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. I want to continue with you here. We're talking about budgets, but besides being good citizens, learning to read, etc., that's what school, and learning, that's what school districts are about. But we also are there to prepare the world's workforce. I mean, we really are. All these kids are going to eventually go to work. Okay, that's our goal, is to put them into society and make them productive members of society. That's what we're trying to do. Let's face it, okay? And we want these kids, and they're going to getting into a technological world, yet we're always struggling with a lack of resources, okay? And always trying to build up the infrastructure to give them all the technological power that they need, okay? My question is, okay, are any of the school districts, and Diane, I can throw this to both Holly and Aaron too, but Diane, are any of the school districts really going to like Microsoft, okay, or Samsung or whoever, and saying, guys, we need money from you. If you want us to prepare the workforce you're going to need, you got to put a lot more dollars into what we're doing, okay? Okay, and instead of throwing it onto the people of the community, so to speak, to put it onto the business side of the community. What's the word on that? You hear the emotion in my voice, so to speak, Diane?
Really good point, Larry, and I'm
Thanks,
glad
Al.
that you're mentioning this because, yes, I cannot say, and maybe Aaron and Holly, have national examples, but at the local level, I can say that. When I was in Green Bay area public schools, we did talk to local businesses and say, hey, we're training the employees that you're going to have in the future. How can you help us, and support us as we do that here in the school district? I also serve and am president of Women in Technology here in Wisconsin, and we have a pillar called WIT for Girls, and that is, to help young women know and understand that there are jobs in technology that they can have. And so, we go into boys and girls clubs and after-school programs, and we help young women learn how to code and get them interested in technology and show them that women can do this. So, yes, it has to be a village to help, get resources to our students. Yep.
Those
are a couple examples.
And by the way, ladies, I didn't know. I thought all women had become either nurses or flight attendants. Okay, so now they can get into all kinds of other things. Is that true? Oh my God, they can become doctors and ed tech people and technical leaders. They can do that. It's about time, for goodness sake.
Yes.
Wasting half the population, for goodness sake. Okay, you guys are shining examples of all this. I mean, industry has to step up to help schools. It's that simple. Multi-billion-dollar companies, okay, like Exxon, another one, okay, anyone you could think of, and really, really help the schools train the kids. That's what we want to do, okay? It's that simple. Holly, you've gone beyond flight attendant and nurse, okay? What's your thoughts on all this? The infrastructure.
Well, I think when it comes to budget, though, one of the things the survey kind of drew out was the fact that women make less than men in the very same positions. So they were able to segment the salaries.
Wait. You mean to say as an ed tech leader, hold on, in schools, am I hearing this correctly? That women in ed tech leadership are making less than men? Did I hear that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
In ed tech leadership?
In ed tech leadership. So the survey said that nearly half of men earn $130,000 or more, compared to 37% of women. So there is a discrepancy. It's improved from the last time the survey was done, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
I am in total shock over that. I got to tell you, I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. I do believe it, but it's unbelievable. Okay.
Yep, there's work to be done around that for sure. Yeah.
Holy crap, that's terrible. Okay, well, Aaron, your turn.
Well, I'm going to go back to the local community component. We have Dell Chromebooks, and they actually have a program that we're working on implementing, where they will supply the training to our students to basically become computer support techs, and so that's one way. And then when they graduate high school, they're coming out with certifications. We also have a tech center in our school district. They're directly attached to our K-12. And so we have a lot of students that go through that. So we, again, being so close to Tinker Air Force Base and Boeing and Northrop Grumman, we've got that support. They have cyber. And then we also have OSU. They've come down and they give us STEM grants consistently. So again, I think, we just kind of have this sweet little nugget here in Oklahoma. And I'm a transplant to the area. So when I moved out here 8 years ago, I didn't know how good. I moved out here from Florida, but as I said, my dad was a United States Marine, and so I got to grow up all over the world, and so that really opened my eyes. Yes, and so, but I think that community piece that Diane mentioned, I actually wrote that down. I said I want to get into even more local entities, not just the big ones like I just mentioned, because a lot of our students are going into their spaces, as soon as they graduate high school. We have Rose State College, so a lot of our students stay local for 2 years and then go on to bigger ones. So I think that's a big part.
That's okay.
As far as the pay, in Mid-Del, it's just based on experience. So I came in and moved into an executive position there. But when I look around at my cohorts, it could be experience, it could be gender, but I think it's something we do definitely have to improve. And I think the work that Diane's doing up in Wisconsin, even of just making women aware of what's out there, will help those numbers balance out.
Yeah, and I work a lot with groups, okay, who are interested in that, okay, and it's hard. I don't understand why women aren't more into it now than ever, and I hope we continue to go in an upward swing with that. Okay, there is no reason why you three are perfect. I mean, you three are great examples. Okay, I'm serious of what we know, of what needs to be out there. Okay, and be the examples and the shining lights to this. Okay, and we need the survey to show what's going on nationally. So, it gives every ed tech leader ammo to walk into the school board and walk into the superintendent's office, say, here's what the others are doing. We need to get on the stick here, okay, and make this happen, okay? It's that simple. And also in terms of just salaries, et cetera, we've got to do it. I want to ask one other thing, and this is important, and you didn't talk about this one, Diane, which is professional learning. How are we doing on that? And I'm going to bring up something that's good, that are the two initials that are going to make you guys nuts for the next 5 years, which is AI. Okay? It's going to make every school district crazy. Okay? And if you want to find out what the end result is, watch Terminator 3. No, I'm just kidding, but you should watch Terminator 3. Hopefully we'll have different results. All right? But it matters. We can't hide our head in the sand. And we just... we talk about girls who code. I know there's a group called that. We want young ladies to get into coding. And pretty soon, AI is going to take over that from what I've read, for goodness sakes. Okay? So what's happening with professional learning and where we are as technology advances so quickly? And I'll throw this one back to Diane.
Right. Well,
Good luck, Diane, with that one. Yeah.
Having an IT department that is up to date is essential, right, to support a school district.
Of course.
And unfortunately, our leaders have said there are time constraints on that, probably more than anything. I mean, funding for training, most school districts were saying that in-house or localized professional learning versus sending, your IT staff away from the district is the way to go, because inevitably when your IT staff leaves the district, that's when you have issues, right? I do recall, as all teachers are going through professional learning in preparation for school, that is when the IT team is most busy, because all the teachers are coming back to school, they're preparing, finishing touches on maybe the access points that they updated, or, those types of things. When I was in Green Bay, what we did was held our professional learning in July. so that we could get our learning out of the way before that rush of school started. And that did help a lot. And we did things like tabletops where, you bring up a security incident, and you have your whole team from central registration all the way to your network team and your hardware team, working on solving issues. And so, professional learning can be done. It's just a matter of when that timing is. And our leaders are saying that, finding the time to do that is really hard to do just because of the ongoing needs that school districts have and the time it takes from our IT staff.
It's just amazing. Holly, what's going on with professional learning up there in beautiful Mid-Coast Maine? I'll keep pushing it for tourists. Go visit Ollie, everybody. It's a great part of the world.
It's beautiful. Yeah. So
Holly
I think
invites you to stay at her place for the week. Just bring the family.
the time that Diane mentioned is huge. I think I just created a folder in my email inbox the other day called Webinars I Want to Watch because there's so much information coming in, and it's available. The resources are there, but finding the time to actually spend to do the incident planning, incident response planning, or to watch the webinar about parent communication that we need to do for our product that we just purchased. It's finding the time. I also think the role of CTO is, one of the respondents to the survey said we wear so many hats. And that also factors in because, COSN has a framework for essential skills and a CETL certification you can earn. But when you look at that framework of what a CTO should have, it is so broad. And everything, as we know, in a district is dependent on technology. So, but, we know the investment is worth the time. It's just finding the time.
Time, it matters. It really does. Erin? Ms. White?
Yeah.
Ms. Rennick-White?
Thank you. We start in July with our brand new teachers, and then we actually have, I was just catching up on messages. In June, we do Toolbox Tuesdays, and so that gives our teachers 6 hours of time of pay. And I think that's the thing. I think it's a fine line of time. Where do you find it? Where do you work it in? But our teachers, they need to be compensated appropriately for that extra time, and I won't get into that whole conversation. 10 months over 12 months split, right, of the pay, and what we do over the summer. So I think that's one piece of it. And then you mentioned AI, and one of my colleagues, Allie Hood, is my system networks administrator. She said AI in Mid-Del means all in. It's here to stay.
It is.
People use Apple Maps, Google Maps all the time. That's AI. So it's just going back to what Diane said at the very beginning of what EdTech means. It's the interpreter. We have to interpret what AI means. Can kids use it to get around things? Absolutely. But we've been doing that, since the early 1900s on a piece of paper, writing on our arms. Like it's all the same concept. So I think it's just translating it, and that's as far as the professional learning with AI. What we're doing is we're trying to work with our teachers to embrace it. It's here to stay. It's not going to change. So how can you work with your students to use it productively? And then again, it just comes back to the time. Where do you find it in the teacher's busy day? Their lives outside of school. Where do you work that in? And we use Canvas, and we actually have Planet PD, and so we try to make it a one-stop shop of just resources. It's just we have to get creative to work through it. And thankfully, I'm part of COSN's early CTO Academy, and in that I got to work with 30 to 40 other educators around the nation and brainstorm consistently about what we can do to improve, what's working, what's not, take an idea, try it in a new district. So it's just breaking the glass ceilings of education. We're in a completely different world. What do we need to do different? Let's not always do it the way we've always done it.
Here we are in a different world. You're exactly right, and it's going to be changing rapidly. Okay, and I always say with AI, this is just my silly opinion, that we could always get the answers. It's the questions that matter. Okay, we got to ask the right questions, and if we can learn to use it that way, okay, we're going to be okay with it. I think it's really just that's what it is. We have these tools already. We have the calculators and all that sort of thing. Okay, but look how far science has gone since we've had calculators. Hasn't heard a damn thing. It's the same thing here. Okay?
Right.
I only wish we had that when I took the SATs. Okay? Because believe me, it would have made a difference, I got to tell you. Ladies, you are doing just fabulous work, all three of you, I got to tell you. And the other thing is, emotionally, you really care about all this. All right? And I got to say, so does COSN and Keith and everybody over there. I mean, this is really important, and it's really the heartbeat of education now. All right, and Aaron just said, new teachers come in. We got to make sure that those new teachers are trained properly in technology, because this is the way it's going. The kids, they are the kids. They were the kids. Now they're the teachers. There's a new group of kids coming in. Everybody's technologically oriented, technological world, and you guys are sitting in the catbird seat. All right, so I got to thank you for being here today. Thank COSN for all the good work they do. Thank you, Diane. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here and to share this information with you.
You're welcome here anytime, and I wish you can get there and Rodgers come back to the Packers. That would be good for both of us. Okay, that's all I can say. That would make both of us happy. Okay, and right, Holly, enjoy some lobsters. Have you had a lobster lately? Holly, fellow Mainer.
Oh, was that a question for me?
There was a question for Holly. Yes, Holly.
Have I had a lobster this year?
Have you had a lobster lately? I have not had one in a while.
Lately? Yes, I have. I had a lobster roll at Sprague's in Wiscasset.
You went to Red's. Did you go to Red's?
I didn't go to Red's. Red's is across the street, but I will be trying Red's, and I will be trying about 5 other places this summer.
Good girl. That's the main spirit with the lobster rolls. Yep. I love it. And everybody, Wiscasset, beautiful town. Red's lobster rolls. The line runs around the corner. Okay, so Aaron, when you come up here,
right?
Okay, that's what you got to do. Okay, and don't come up in February. You will hate it. Come up in the spring and summer and fall. Go visit Holly. Bring the whole family. Okay, she'd love it.
Sure will. All right.
Thank you all. From Oklahoma to Wisconsin to good old Maine. Thank you all, guys. Have a good day. Much appreciated.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Larry.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Believe me. Bye-bye. Aren't they great? And COSN's terrific, too. COSN.org. You know what you have to do is Google the State of EdTech Leadership 2023, their survey. And this is important because this is education. Okay? It's that simple. And we don't have the leadership leading the way with the right questions and bringing the answers to fruition. Okay, we're going to be in big trouble, and we don't want to get into big trouble again. Okay, so let's learn our lessons and go from there. My name's Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio, and please check out everything we do, including our new issue of our magazine, Equity and Access. It's all at ace-ed.org, and check out that Excellence and Equity Awards program too. Thanks for listening.